Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 37th episode of HSBG podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins, and I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. Shady, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Collins. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now, first thing I want to get out of the way before I get these comments is that I did not really do slides this week because I forgot. I was just streaming. Shady comes in like, hey, we ready for tonight? I was like, what are you talking about? And I instantly reminded myself, yes, I have podcasts and all the responsibilities that go with that. But hey, whatever. I think it's fine. It's not a big deal. We have a lot to talk about anyways, and I'm sure our conversation will still be enjoyable just regardless of all the fancy colors or not that are not there. Yeah, it's all fine. But generally we always start with our weekly overview. So this might, there's not going to be like slide, more audio for the people here. But we always start with a weekly overview, just kind of good. And Shady's reminding me how much we can get done in a week, because I was like, what do we have this week? And you're like, oh, we have the tournament, we got the roundtable discussion, we've got these tournaments, things, discussions about the meta, all that stuff. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot, And it's like, yeah, and it pretty much every week where, as I'm doing the topics, I'm like, wow, oh, this happened and this happened, this happened. But yeah, we've got quite a bit of things. Anything that jumps out to you that you want to, jump into right now?
I guess the most interesting one is the roundtable discussion, but maybe we can just like ease into it and talk about our tournament we had playing in Nicolina's tournament.
Yeah, I do think the roundtable there's a lot there, right? Like, first of all, it was a long discussion,
Yeah.
but even within that, just the potential and all that things that come with having some format like that is also pretty cool to talk about. So yeah, there's definitely a lot in that we could talk about. But generally, could we interview some tournament winner? Damn, if only, I don't have those connections. But yeah, maybe I can pull some strings, get some tournament winners here in the show. But we'll have to see. But yeah, we can jump right into it, right? Go talk about the Nicolina Mooncoin tournament. It's one of, I believe, 4 finals that she's having, and then there's also going to be a grand finals in April, so quite a while away. But this was the first of them. She invited 4 streamers and I believe 32 other contestants that qualified or so. The streamers didn't necessarily qualify, which some would say not as fair, but hey, that's the format. What are you gonna do about it? But I was invited. Shay was invited. Nina was invited, and Orange was also. Yes, I know all of them. I was just come on, dude. I remember all of them.
Pausing for drama.
Yes, obviously, pausing for drama.
Exactly. The viewers acting like, is he gonna know it? Is he gonna remember?
Of course I know. I know Orange was invited. And something I thought was really cool is that all 4 invitees made it to the final. I thought that was like really, really cool. That hey, you're up against people that qualified, worked hard, grinded away. These are our top players, and the invitees, the streamers are like, oh yeah, we're good enough. Let's just go against the finals. Yeah, I thought that was pretty sick. So, it was pretty fun. I, personally didn't feel that I did amazing, but definitely did well enough to get to the finals. And then she also played, out of his mind, some would say, really dominating, and ended up, doing really well. Kind of very impressed generally, but I always am. So, you want to talk about any of your plays, your results, any of that kind of stuff? Yeah, what's going on with you?
Yeah, it was great fun. The tournament structure, I think, was interesting, and I will say that with a different structure, maybe a more structure that we're used to, I would not have finished first. I think
so. You finished first. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Shady won that sucker. Yeah,
I think it's my first time as well winning a Battlegrounds tournament, but I haven't really played in that many, but up until now. Like rivals 2 times, we got second, and I think I played another one of Nicolina's tournaments. I think I played an F2K tournament, but that's kind of it. So tournament experience fairly limited. It's starting to get there now. Now I feel like I'm getting some traction. But the yeah, it was the first time winning a tournament, and the way the point structure worked. God, my cat is purring super loud. Sorry.
It's part of the ambience, Shady. That's why
Yeah,
they
that's
have
why they
a.
tune in, right? That's why they tune in. The point structure was that you have 11 rounds and you carry over your points from the different stages. So you have your first stage where you fight in a certain lobby twice, then you swap to another lobby, you fight there twice, and then you add all your points. Then you're cutting it down from 32 to 16. So top 16 advance, same system, 2 lobbies, 2 games each. Then you go to the top 8. Top 8 point earners advance, but the points never get reset, nor do they get diluted or anything like that. So you enter the finals with the points you'd already farmed. And I had a really good first stage where I got a second place and then 3 firsts. And after I got the second place and the first place, it was like, oh, I'm in, right? Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to be able to be knocked out anymore. And I was going to just like more relax. But then I read like, oh, the points carry over. It's like, no mercy, no mercy. I'm going super hard for the wins now. And I just, yeah, I did some tier 6 gaming, like really aggressive leveling, all in, all in, all in. Because, you can play in a tournament, and like if you feel like you're going to do well enough, you can play a bit more conservative. But especially if you've already qualified for the next round, there's almost no harm in just like very aggressively playing for the win, because it was also structured interestingly, where I think first place was 55 points,
Yeah.
second place was 40 points,
Yeah.
third place is 30
30,
points. So you
yeah.
already have a drop off there. But then the interesting part is that like eighth is not a massive punish. Eighth is 0, but then seventh is like 8 or something, and then sixth was not a crazy high number either. So it really incentivized YOLO play, because you add very high reward and not such a high punishment. So if you had a really bad game, you can afford a really bad game, and especially when you give high level players sort of a license to go in and say, well, because if you play on ladder, you need 2 firsts to make up for an eighth. That's like you are heavily incentivized to avoid eighths on ladder, but here, if you have 2 firsts and an eighth, that's what is that, 110 points.
10 points, yeah.
That's pretty good for 3 games, right?
Yeah, that's actually you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't really read what you would say the rules. I just come in like, because I just know if I get first, I win, right? Like, so like I don't.
Yeah.
The rules don't matter.
I don't need no rules, baby. I'll
like
just crush,
in my
right?
head, so I'm just like whatever, and then like after the first round. I'm like, okay, so how does the point structure go? We reset for the finals or something like that. It's like you never reset. I'm like, what? Weird. I was like, oh, I should have played differently, because I probably would have played differently if I knew from the get-go. But regardless, like it didn't really matter. I think the placements were probably who was going to place wherever, like regardless of if I changed my mentality or not. But I do think it was interesting, and it did definitely encourage you to go aggressive, because I had a couple of bad games, but then you get a first at the end or something, and like, whew, that's it makes up for all your transgressions there. So it was a little bit interesting. Like, it's definitely one of the more unusual formats I think I've played, where first of all the points carry over, and then the points are so weighted as well. Like both of those are not what I usually see in these tournaments, right? Usually it's like if you get a first and an eighth, that kind of evens out, right? But here it's like if you get a first or eight, you're still ahead. People who like get like double fourth or something, you're still gonna beat them, or even like third, fourth, you're gonna beat them. So it's like very skewed to just making sure you have the strongest games that you can. So I do agree with that there. So it was an interesting format, but it did give me pause. Like it did make me think, right? Because I do. They did talk about how they wanted to reward good play in the earlier stages, and I do agree with that. Like I do think there should be some type of like point advantage for like just dominating your first two lobbies, right? Like, cause you go to you dominate, and then you go into your last lobby and you have like a bad game or tilde or whatever, and then someone like just high rolls or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, they win. And the fact that it's only 3 lobbies at the end, right? It'd also be weird to have the full reset, and then oh, you just like got unlucky that one 2 rounds, and the other dude got luckier, and then now you won, right? Like 11 games is a good sample size for victory, where 3 would not be, right? So
Yeah.
I just think it was too much of an advantage, right? Like I thought about maybe diluting it, cutting it by a third, because if you looked at the actual tournament, spoilers ahead, I mean, you've already spoiled it, right? Should you dominated, but if you looked at when it came to the finals, first place and 8th place, right, point earners, the first place had a 120-point lead, basically, right? And you have 3 games left. If you get first, you get 55, right?
Yeah.
And the first place has a 120-point lead. So if the person in 8th got first 3 times, he still loses. Like,
Well,
90% of
right?
well,
I'd have to punt
you'd
games.
have to go 8th 3 times. If you get
Well, not 8th, but like 6th to 8th or something.
if you get like a single third, you win. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, what? How easy is that?
I get 1 win, it's impossible.
Yeah, and that just should not be allowed. Like, to give the players that make it to the final a sense of hopelessness, like, it's just too much, right? So I was thinking diluted by a third, right? So if it's instead of a 120-point lead, it's a 40-point lead.
Well, I think as well, like, you could even go further than that, but you'd have to just extend the amount of games. I wouldn't hate a full reset in top 8.
I wouldn't hate it either, but
yeah,
the tournament was already like 6 hours plus.
Yes,
that's the issue.
Problem.
Yeah,
and this is why usually when you see these kind of tournaments, it's a 2-day format where the first day it's just the Swiss, and then the second day you have the top 8 or top 16 down to top 8 or something like that. If you have larger tournaments, then like, let's say you have like over 100 people, then usually you'll go for it like 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. Yeah, but
yeah, obviously, Nicolina's working within the constraints of, everyone's already tired after playing 11 games. And I do like the idea of your points do carry over for the sort of group stages where you have going from 32 to 16 and then 16 to 8. I think that a full carryover is probably fine in that regard, where you'd have like your day 1 stage where all the points carry over, but then on day 2 it's reset. Because like, you kind of proved yourself getting to the top 8, and then it's only fair that you get a chance. And then, like, I am going to be honest, like, I high rolled a lot of games. Like, I high rolled a lot of games. So does that necessarily make me, like, entitled to having such a big advantage going into the finals? Like, maybe not. I played really well, of course, to exploit those high rolls, but I high rolled a lot of games.
Another thing I don't like about the fact that it fully carries over is that the lobbies are going to have different strengths of players, right? Like, we never fought each other until the finals, right?
Yeah.
Imagine I'm in your lobby is the first two. I'll be honest, you're not getting that exact score line.
Probably. Well, I mean, you should have seen my board.
I'm gonna make sure. You're not getting that
like,
score
I'm gonna take a 5. I'm fighting shit. I'm gonna take a 5 right now.
So I'm just saying the lobbies are not equally balanced, like, no matter what. Like, and it's weird to say, oh, you fought this group of people, you get a huge lead versus you fought, like, this is like let's say 1 5 8, 1 5 6 7 8 are in your lobby, and like 2 3 4, or 2 3 4 8 are in the other lobbies or something like that, right? Like, the person who has that huge gap of like strength, right, is just gonna dominate, right? Versus the other one where it's gonna be more equal out. So I do think it's just weird that you get you get benefits you get or punished by the luck of the draw and like how strong the lobbies are.
I'm not even sure though, like how, like if there was a significant gap.
No, I don't think there was.
Yeah,
but I'm saying theoretically.
But I just want to clarify
Okay.
before anyone that
the players were strong. The players were strong.
Like, they're pretending like a fucking 2K MMR. What is this shit? The guy just high rolled, okay? Like, what am I supposed to... Like, honestly, one game was like, I was playing Brand, and I got like shit ton of tokens, and I got a Primal Fin. Like, my what was this? Turn 7 board was Lightspawn, Fellbat, Imp Mama. It's like this... Turn 7, right? So 9 gold.
Okay.
I've got Lightspawn that's already been farming. I've got a Fellbat and an Imp Mama, right? We're talking that
You're
level.
You're stealing my comp.
yeah, but I'm doing it on turn 7.
I know, that's insane. Okay, damn.
Like, yeah, so it's nutty. I had a Fellbat that was scaling since turn 7 with a Lightspawn. So, like, some games were just like, yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. Nutty, right? Just... But you have to go like real. Obviously, I had to like hold triples. I was eating damage. I was leveling. I was going super hard. But then, you know, like the next few turns, I just built this board. No one can challenge. All right. Anyways, just a little clarification on the side. But yeah, obviously, sometimes you're going to have this imbalance, and then somebody gets like the easier opponents and does better there, and then those points might, you know, it's a little weird if they carry over into the finals. You know? Because it feels like you never had a chance to interact with the guy that had a huge point lead.
Yeah. I never fought Shady until the finals, and then he has like a 200-point lead, or well, you know, like he had like a 70 or so point lead. Yeah, comfortable lead. Where I'm just like, what is I supposed? How do I outplay Shady destroying my opponents when I can't be in his lobbies at all? There's no outplay. I'm just like, well, here it is. You know, but I will say the point lead saved me too. I had a really awful second round, I felt, but I got like that one first, and then my first round was like really well. Like we were first and second, and then I had a pretty awful second round, right? But then the previous points was what allowed me to make it to the finals, right? And in the finals I did okay. So, it was helpful. Like it just felt weird that the leads were so drastic, I guess, in my experience. But generally, I had a fun time. You know, I mean, like after the second round, I had a fun time. I was had a bit of a dip, yeah. The second round, I was like, oh god, I'm throwing every game. Like,
it's got to be said that Collins might not have been practicing an enormous large amount.
That's no excuse. I knew when the tournament was. You know, I was just not caring, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, it's not an excuse. So I just didn't play that well that day. You know, that's all. But other than that, I got third. So he got first. Alucard got second, I believe. Nina.
Oh, we gotta say the conclusion, right? So this was the epic finish. Alucard actually played really, really well and caught up to my lead to the point where if Alucard got first, I would not win. If he got any other placement, because I came in fifth, right? And we quickly did the math, like, oh, if he gets first now, he wins. But Collins is the one that knocked me out. I'm just like some like stupid ass Chanda's double light spawn.
Wait, I was doing my
unkillable board, right? Just I'm scabs and I'm trying to catch up with the light spawn I stole from Collins, but it's the test phenomenon, right? You're never as strong as the person you're robbing because they just had it earlier. So the moment I fought Collins, I'm like, all right, it's a fifth. So, but Collins is destroying the lobby, and then Collins head to head against Alucard, kills him, gets him the second, and I'm like, yeah, we win.
Yeah, Shady was like, oh, Collins, you need to win. I didn't know. I wasn't doing the math. I was like, Shady wants me to win. Okay, let's just win then. So I started playing seriously. not that I wasn't playing seriously in that tournament. Of course, I was trying to win, but I knew I wasn't winning the game. But Shady wanted me to win. I was like, okay, well, here we go. I mean, I was probably gonna win. But I made sure. All right, at least I upped my chances. Sell the brand.
Let's maybe get a self move.
Yeah, sell the brand. Buy the store exactly. And then And I was like, oh, I got Shady the first. I take that, I'll take the victory. Like that's
Yeah.
your win is, somewhat of my win.
I'm just sitting there like our first place comrade. Oh man. That's just an inside meme from when we were playing TFT all
all the
the
time,
yeah.
yes.
Anytime we came on each other's board, like our win streak. Anyways, yeah. So overall, great event, super fun. Make sure to go check it out, and there will be 3 more, and then the grand finals in April, which we'll both be playing in. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. So, if you guys haven't watched it, I think it was a pretty good tournament. There was a lot of good stuff. I would prefer you watch Shady's perspective here, And well, the first round, any perspective is fine of us two. Second round, please leave my perspective
there were
alone.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Second, yeah. Third round, either perspective is fine, especially the last game. Either perspective is fine, especially my perspective.
Some perspective lasted longer in the last lobbies.
Yeah.
That was the date was the 12th, I think. Yeah, right, guys. Sunday 12th. Either way.
Oh yes, it was because it's the same day as the round table. I was like, "What am I doing today? I'm playing this tournament.
Yes,
then I'm going to. I'm staying awake for like 6 hours, and then I'm doing this
like,
round table until 4
sleeping,
a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, "What am I doing today?" But yeah, that was definitely the same day for sure. It was hectic for me. But speaking of the round table, that's a good thing.
Clean.
Yeah, Victor. I believe Victor and Son wanted to create like this high-level BG discussion format, and I was looking through. They were inviting a ton of people that they liked. I got invited. She got invited. Right. The timing, at least for the first one, was a little bit weird, but I was like, I'm not gonna miss the first one, Like I felt like, not the first one, definitely, because especially when I looked at it, I was like, this is not like I've done podcasts, right? And I was looking at what they wanted to do. I was like, this is not gonna work. There's no structure. There's no organization. So I spent some time doing some slides. We ended up not using the slides, but I still made them. They were good, somewhat high quality slides. I still have them. But they wanted to. Okay, so this is like the first discussion. They wanted to cover all the heroes, all the minions, and then like 7 more topics. And I was reading this, and I was like, this is gonna take like 9 hours, minimum.
Like, calm down, guys. I've done this shit before.
Yeah. And I was talking to Victor, and he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, this is crazy, right? So let's just do all the heroes. And then the tier 1 of the minions, and I'm still like, this is still like, 6 hours. But I was like, you know what? Let the heroes, we can maybe just do it. Like, it's going to be a long one, but we'll do it, So I thought that was kind of fine. And it was okay. Like, I enjoyed it, but I know not everyone there was like this. I want to do 4 hours, nonstop discussion every time, So, for me, like, I mean, we're all streamers in that group, and we stream multiple hours all the time. So I thought it was fine, but I definitely do think it could be. It was a little bit chaotic, but. I liked it generally. You totally missed it. There a VOD somewhere. I have the VOD. I could upload it to the YouTube or whatever. I just haven't because I'm lazy, But I might do that at some point, maybe today or tomorrow. I'm not even promising that I will, but I guess once I upload this, I'll just like put the other one in as well, just to have it there, because I do think it is pretty important. I know Sun has the VOD somewhere. I think if you do the VODs on Twitch, it cuts out people's voices just because of the Twitch system. So it's a little bit harder to do it that way. But I know Sun has the VOD, so you can check Sun's maybe Sun's YouTube or something. Check her Twitter. It's in her Twitter. I know that for sure. So you can look at that. So yeah, VOD is 25 gigs. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. But generally, what we ended up doing is we just pretty much ended up talking about all the heroes. And I think after that, we were just too drained to really do anything else. But we did get a tier list of all the heroes. And I do think that there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack there, right? It wasn't like one person's particular list. It was just a collective list of all the people in the group, which if on the list of group, it was me, Aw Dragon, Victor, Sun, XQN, Hoppa, Mr. Incredible. I think it was 8 people, right? That's everyone, right? I think. If I miss someone, I'm gonna feel bad. This is just off the top of my head. I don't know if that's exact everyone, but I feel like it was. So was those group, and there's a lot of like different personalities, I guess, in there with different opinions, so it was fun. I learned a lot. I was sad it was happening at midnight for me, because I was like, there's so much good information here, but it's midnight. I can't, like, my brain can't handle like just like digesting every single thing. And Pocky, yes, you're right, and Pocky, that's the last one that I'm missing. You're absolutely right. Yes, for sure. He came like 30 minutes afterwards, so that's my excuse. But you're right. I did forget about him. Yeah, for sure. You're right. Yeah, and Pocky as well. So that's true. So yeah, a lot of interesting people. We ended up having this tier list. I believe I can share it up on the screen. This isn't exactly how my tier list looked, because me, Victor, and Sun, like, we're doing it at the same time, because I think we were the only ones streaming, so we all had our own tier list. But it's pretty much almost exact. There's like maybe 4 or 5 heroes that I have slightly different, but generally these are like pretty much the tier list. And I've been talking. Any thoughts that jump out of you, Shady, when you look at this tier list? You're like, this is very wrong. Why is my Sindragosa so low? That kind of thing. I can give
there could be some really fun stuff to talk about for sure. Yeah. What were you saying?
I can give some context, I guess, since I was there, right? Like,
I can ask what's going on here. So I don't necessarily disagree, but it's interesting to see Barov second place here, or at least in
these the tiers are not ordered.
They should be.
No, but it was already 4 hours, Shady. We're maybe
that much.
We're going to order it in a different stream, okay, Shady? That's our thoughts.
What if I have Gallywix and Barov in the same pack?
Then flip a damn coin, Shady. You should be good enough to know what you want based on what heroes are.
I know, but what about the viewers?
Well, next week or something, we'll clean it up, okay? Yeah. It was just like we were doing it, and I was like, there's no way we're going to get the orders correct within the time frame, because we were nearing like 3-4 hours, and I'm just like, and they were like, oh, what about this? I'm like, guys, I don't want to be here another 2 hours fixing the order of this stuff. Let's just get them in the brackets and move on. And they're like, you know what? Yeah. So at a different point, we're probably gonna organize it, but for now, just look at what tiers they're in. That's really where things are.
Well, I mean, regardless, Barov S, I think that's something that, at least for a lot of people, to be like, wait, what? The Gamble guy is S? ? So I don't know if there was anything that jumped out from the discussion. Was there like a lot of people saying like, what, you're crazy? Or was everyone just like, well, no, Barov S, that makes a lot of sense.
Barov was like one of the first heroes that we picked, and it was like pretty definitive S. There wasn't really a lot of like disagreement. It's just that it's easier to guess people's I guess the early wins, because a lot of people stay on one, and you kind of know the strength of players. I guess the one issue, I guess, with the tier list is that everyone in there is so good. That's maybe like it's like, it's not a problem, but it's kind of a caveat where it's like everyone I was talking to is like, yeah, you're just easy bet. Like, it's so easy. It's so clean. And like me, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's so easy to bet. It's so clean. It's so obvious. You'd always bet here. Right? And everyone's like, yeah, I agree. And you're just like, if you're not, you're not that quick, or you haven't played that many games, or you're not, out there,
Yeah,
you're like, no, Barrow's
I'd
kind of
say
hard to
I'd say
guess.
Barov drops off
Yeah,
significantly, right?
yeah, you'd be like, Barrow's kind of hard to guess. It's not that clear. You don't know exactly how strong people are, right? But then I'm just talking to them like, yeah, it's so easy to bet. You can just look at their board, look at their state, look at the damage, look at their tiers, look at their the levels, and it's just clear, right? And it's just like everyone just
Yeah,
easily agrees with that. But if you're not, if you're not that comfortable with Barov or playing that game or knowing how strong people are, especially in the early game where the bets really matter, then it drops off a lot. But for the people in the discussion, it was pretty clear as like there wasn't really any difficulty. I really didn't have any like people saying, it's hard to bet or
yeah.
anything like that.
I mean, you also just the lower you go, the more random your opponents are going to be. Like, oh, I'm going to buy this minion, or I'm going to not hold my triple, or stuff like that. Because right now, if you're playing at high MMR and somebody triples on one, a lot of the time, like
Just hold it.
99,
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be a
And you
Murloc
know
token
that.
in
So
their
it's like
hand,
free. Like, yeah.
and you're like, okay, they're taking a loss because they're
Yeah.
holding their triple.
Yeah.
So it's like, ooh, good information, I guess. So yeah, I do think the lower you go, the less reliable Barov becomes. But no, I mean, just looking at the tier list, a lot of things make sense. So I think Vol'jin, when I'm looking at the stuff, so I think from S, like I can't really disagree with anything, and I don't even want to call it a disagreement, but more like, peculiar. So when I start looking at A, that's where I see Vol'jin, Patches,
So,
Ysera, and potentially Greybow, where
okay.
I'm just like,
So one thing we did is we assumed like perfect minion
yeah,
types,
that's fine.
you know, and they were saying, okay, if Grayble's in, you've got like all the tokens in, or you have elemental
Mhm.
stuff, right? It's very clean, very safe. You get like Ikium's broken, right? So you've got that early safety net, and then you can just like either, and then they were talking about like Grayble's one of the best people for using light spawn, right? Because you just get the tokens and like,
Yeah.
oh, everything has taunts, so you always get perfect pump,
But
you
the
get
thing is,
milking and stuff like that.
the main problem isn't what do I do once I have a light spawn? It's how do I get a light spawn, right? But yeah, I do get you. Like he wins harder.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to go light spawn, right? You can still do like demons are okay, mechs stuff is okay. I mean, I played Greybow. I won right earlier today. That was a Greybow game. I just played Eliza Scab. Like, it's a good hero. I didn't necessarily do anything like crazy nonsense. I mean, I did get like double
Mhm.
six, right? But like it's a hero that can win, right? Like you can get first place, right? If you get the stuff, and it's not like the craziest heroes. A lot of the stuff in A, I'm like, yeah, there are days where I won't pick a lot of the stuff in A, which is like, yeah, like I feel like A's are like heroes where you're like always happy to pick, like
Yeah.
that would be my feel. But even I was like, yeah, I don't love these ones. Like Zarella, some days I'm like
Well,
just skipping, but yeah.
no, I think Zarella in ideal minion lobbies is just amazing in this
Oh
meta.
yeah, I mean
Right.
I mean you're gonna agree with a lot of stuff. And I agreed with pretty much most of it, right? But I'm just saying
Well,
like
the two that really stand out are Vol'jin, Patches, right? And then
so
Ysera for me right now is not a. I think she's far too inconsistent.
we had a big discussion about Ysera in particular, like
Yep.
just the variance, right, would be like the big downside, right? But like sometimes the games are like free. You just kill people.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really afford to take eights, right? And
Yes,
she's just
but
so good at making eights.
she's also so good at making first, right? Like the argument is
Yeah,
just
but
like you take it, and I understand. Like I'm probably on your side here, like,
okay, sure.
but
Like,
I have to play the other guy,
I'm the thing is
right?
like if you're gonna put her in A, you have to hold her to the same standards as the other people in A, right? The other champions in A, and we're talking if we look at like Cookie, Lich,
You can always
Reno,
lose with
Tom,
every
you
hero,
can
though.
lose, yeah, but like the top eight is just gonna be so unlikely. Whereas with Ysera, it's so likely compared to other heroes. And I think if you are a very, very good player, Ysera also offers very little for you to put that good play into practice.
Sure,
Essentially,
it's almost autopilot. Yeah,
all the work is
they
done
they,
up front, right?
we
If you know,
talked
like
about this. Yeah.
yeah, Yeah. So I don't think that for if this is a tier list for like extremely high MMR players,
It's
I
not
don't
necessarily.
think.
It's just like a general.
Well, then
Tier.
why is the Barov S tier?
It's Better I mean, Better S tier. That's why.
Yeah, but you can't have both, right? You can't
you
have it be like, well, you have to be a god with Barov,
the
but also
I
it's a
gotta
tier list
say
for the
the
people, right?
criteria for this tier list is all over the place. I'm gonna like it's just 8 people saying arbitrary
Yeah, no,
numbers, and
I get that. I get that, but
7 other 8 players just saying, yeah, I agree with this arbitrary number. You know,
yeah.
the criteria for one hero did not completely equal the criteria for the other hero. A lot of the
I'm
times I
going
felt
to
like
assume it's a tier list for like top 50 MMR people or something,
a
right?
lot of
And then
times I just felt
obviously,
like it was like I'm comfortable with this hero. Like, oh, I'm super happy to get this hero. I'm not that happy to get like that's F. I'm not happy to get this hero. I'm happy to get this hero A. If I'm not so happy it's S. I'm like somewhat happy, it's a C. That's how I felt a lot of times. It wasn't like but if you put the standards, if you look at the stats here, like there was no stat looking in this tier list, right? There was an argument to put Daryl in like D. I was like, what the hell is this? I
could maybe agree with
you would agree, but I'm like, Daryl's one of the safest heroes. Like in the game, like just if you look at the stats, Daryl's like absolutely the safest hero in the game.
Yeah, but
and
I mean, the problem is we don't have stats.
You can look at HS replay. I mean,
but we don't have stats for like the top 0.0.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't give a shit about the other ones, to be honest, right? Yeah, so it's very dangerous to look at HS
why
replay.
Put
and
that
then
at D? Like even if you're going to hate on Daryl, like it's still a safe hero. It's like a skipping the game hero, in my opinion, and that's still like at least easier.
I lose MMR on Daryl regularly now.
No, that's your fault. That's your fault.
How much Daryl have you done recently, Collins? Like
how much games have I played recently, Shady? That's the real question.
Yeah, that's my point, right? So like maybe maybe my Daryl is just bad or unlucky, or maybe your Daryl feeling is a bit outdated. Because I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said like, yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Daryl in D is ridiculous. But like the more I play now and the better my understanding of the game and the late game becomes, and how successfully most of the time I get to level and then do cool shit on 5 or 6, it's just I miss that on these heroes that have this more
yes, I agree with all of this nonsense. It's correct what you're saying, but then when you look at the heroes in D and you're like, yes, I'll take Alex Straza.
No.
So like it's like what the hell?
Sure, I think bottom of C or something like that. But
that's fine. But the argument to like drop him in D, he's so safe. You skip that, you lose 5 MMR or whatever nonsense it is. It's still a lot better than like going for like this 20% guaranteed 8 heroes that a lot of these on D are. So I was just like this. I was like, no, I will not stand for this. I could even see the B. Argument like the B's, I could see where the defense. I can
see the argument as well. I would probably disagree with it.
Yeah. But like C was like, okay, I'll stop it there. I won't like go to bat like as a C, but like the D was like, no, stop.
Put my foot down.
This is ridiculous. The rest. So that kind of style. You said in A, you didn't. What was it? Vol'jin. Yeah. There was a lot of defenders for Vol'jin, and that you can abuse whatever. I'm not a Vol'jin lover, so I didn't really I heard the defense and I was like, yeah, sure, but I agree. Like Vol'jin A is not something I would do, but their arguments were okay to me, where it's like, yeah, I can see the rationale, and there were a lot of them that really liked Vol'jin.
We have to look at this where both Mutinous and Sneeds are below Vol'jin, and that to me is sort
a lot of it. Armor played a decent part. The Mutinous for sure. I think the no armor on Mutinous was like what hurt.
But I mean, if you're playing Mutinous in a lobby where you have a Wrath Weaver and you can either do light spawn stuff or you can.
I'm just telling you, the armor was.
I understand, but like just in general, like I've had like so many good Mutinous games because he's just so flexible. You get to like I don't really get I get why he doesn't have armor, because the stats are based on global stats and stuff. I think for super high MMR play, Mutinous isn't the nuts, right? So I think some armor on Mutinous would make sense there. But this hero is so flexible that if you are a good player, you just get to be like, oh, I just need 1 extra gold here. Oh, I don't lose stats for it. Just eat my minion. I get to level. Oh, this is a good turn to buy. This is a good turn to level. Just the 0, we see that a lot, the 0 cost hero power that does something productive. Like, I think for me, that's difficult to have that. I don't know. In this case, a Patches and a Vol'jin.
I really wanted you in the discussions because I know
Yeah.
the list would change if you were added in there. I was like, the list
Well, I
would
would
have
have
changed.
given my opinion, right?
Yes, I know. And it would have been good enough to sway people. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I was like, damn,
Compelling
Shady's not
argument.
here. Yeah, Shady's not here. Like, I was like, he would defend this hero, right?
Cthulhu in F is absolute silliness.
Yes, I knew it. I was like,
absolute, just like you can just tell these people have not played Dragon Cthulhu more than 3 times in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever time. Like they just don't play it. And it's just like, if there's no Murlocs, if there's no Maxna, and dragons are in, like this shit is just decent, right? Like you win games. It's not just like, oh, how much am I going to lose? You actually win games.
I was
you triple it with a Dina or something.
I was like, Shady would jump on this Cthulhu and F thing, and he'd just like, okay, what did he say? He'd say something about Cthulhu dragons.
Yeah,
I was like, I know for a fact that he would defend this, but he's not here, and I'm not gonna pretend to be Shady.
Whatever. It's fine, but yeah.
I just thought it was funny because I was like, he would defend this one.
I was gonna wait on it and do tiers. I was like, all right, if you're talking about something that would not have stood, like, there's no way Cthulhu is F there. Anyway, so. Well, do you remember any of the rationale for Patches being an A? Because that's probably the most egregious one. If I look
really
at the
liked Patches, I felt like there was some bias in some of their conversation where it's like I'm a big fan of Patches, like hugger. They also, they were talking about how abusive the Tony Hogger was, and Tony Eliza as well. Like, and it's a lot easier to get it with Patches and whatnot. And Patches, like comparative to some of the other heroes, it's a lot easier to force because you can always hero power for 3. So it's never like, it's not like Shemvala where if you don't hit a elemental, you're screwed, right? With Patches, you can always be like, okay, I can hero power for 3 at the least. But a lot of times I'll hero power for 2 or 1, and you just force.
We're still putting them on the same tier as Cookie and Reno and Gil.
I know, but
makes me very uncomfortable.
They were a very big fan of. They were arguing like this is the best minion type hero or so, like better than Flurgle or
yeah. I mean, it's entirely possible that there's just some stuff I need to experiment with or just watch them play it.
100% with every player in that group. There's there's things that they do really well, and there's also things like they're not familiar with or they do incorrectly. So
all right, so the argument for Sneed in B is he doesn't have armor or what?
It's not that he doesn't have armor. It's also they were talking about how you can just like the variance is so high. There are some games you start with 35 HP, and there's some games you start like 28, 22. And
I think that's the issue where people just like force a standard, or not really a standard, but they always force the same curve on Sneed.
Right.
Like my Sneed games, I feel are super consistent because I'm just like, oh, I get some good 2-drops. Guess what? You don't have the hero power. You could just buy the good 2-drops, and then or you can stay on 1 if you get like Wrathweaver and stuff. You can even, like, I had a Sneed game, I think yesterday or so, where I didn't hero power for like 3 turns straight because it's like, oh, I'm just doing a tier 1 curve because I'm going to triple into a 4-drop. And then I'll start hero powering the 4-drop, and that'll be super strong. So I don't give a shit if I'm not hero powering. So I think the problem with Sneed I see when I watch other people play him or to complain about him is that they always do the same shit. And they always rush to 3, rush to 4. And yeah, okay, guess what? Sometimes you're going to have 25 health. And that's not great. But you can't just like ignore good shops, put on the blinders and be like, go to 4, find Matron. I didn't get it. Stupid hero.
Yeah.
That doesn't work on almost anything.
I do think there were a lot of people stuck in their ways, myself included, right, in the discussion where it's like, Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I haven't done that, so
Yeah, I can't give
yeah,
you
yeah. So
my
I don't know. I don't agree. That kind of thing. I think I saw that happen quite a bit, where people have played their heroes, right, and you have to like take the reins and like discuss your playstyle for like 2 minutes for the
Mm,
rest of them to understand, right? And that wasn't really happening a lot because there were a lot of people and we were trying to get through things and stuff like that, and everyone had their opinions, and there was like
okay.
one particular moment. The one that jumps out to me was with Edwin, where XQ and I stopped and said, "Oh, I stay on 3, with Edwin. I just hero power
Mhm.
and I force this composition, staying on 3, da da da, and it's really good, really consistent." And I was like, "Wow, I've not heard anyone say that, or do that." And that was kind of like, "Oh, that's impressive." Okay, I can see Edwin being, in C or whatever.
Well, I think with Edwin, you stay on 3 at least 1 or 2 turns longer than most
Yeah,
heroes.
but he was like Darylling it essentially.
Oh, just like
Yeah. Yeah,
okay, sure,
yeah,
sure, sure.
So I was like, I've not heard that before.
No, I
So
feel like
yeah,
pushing barrel.
yeah.
I don't know,
So
I feel like that takes away again well, maybe not. I'm just gonna have to watch him play it
yeah,
for
like you
sure.
you can triple it on 4 and like get the 4s and then do whatever. Yeah, but that was his. But that was like it was interesting, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's something to look at and see how powerful that is. There wasn't like that, but I'm saying that moments like that were kind of rare because like first of all you have to like be super confident like your unique
yeah.
style is like the line.
Well, you're you're
Yeah.
you're a QN. People are gonna shut the fuck up and listen, right? When you're
Yeah,
about to talk like about Edwin or whatever.
sure.
That's true. Yeah,
So
he
yeah,
gets that pass. It's like, well, what do you know? Well, I finished rank 1 a couple times. It's just like, okay, well, sure, let's listen.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
see what he's got to say.
yeah. So
Uh,
it was pretty interesting, but yeah, there was a lot of like I played this hero. It feels like a C. It feels like a B. Okay. Well, then there's like some argument. It's like, oh no, this is maybe like 1 tier above, 1 tier down. Then well, since it was taking too long, we kind of had a vote, and like a lot of times it'd be like
yeah,
somewhat split, but like
not
5 to 3.
unanimous, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
So a lot of these are like maybe one could be like moved up 1 or 2, one not moved up one, move up 1 or down 1, and it would still be like somewhat fine. But this is like generally like over this particular group of players what we felt at the time. So definitely changes every patch and whatnot. But
Yeah,
I
for sure.
liked it. It's funny. We all looked at it and like none of us make this tier list.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not this funny. None
And
of
we
us
all have
make this
blind
tier.
spots as well, where we're
Yeah,
just like, okay, this is a hero. You know, this is just not rational, irrational, an
right.
irrational love for this hero, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think one of the things for me, um, like if I have to think in a perfect Ticketus lobby, for me, right? So I
right.
play a decent amount of Ticketus, and I think out of my last, God, chat, help
I
me out
I
here. I don't.
I knew you would defend Ticketus. I was like,
I have a
yeah,
stupid first place rate on the guy,
uh,
like stupid, right? Because the thing is that for me, I'd pick Ticketus over the Nas, the Flurg, not the Sneeds, but over the Kurt, maybe Silas,
but
maybe
you're like the
Alakir.
only one. You know what I mean? That's the thing, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like I'm not going to feel comfortable enough to I can just say like, well, this is my data.
yeah.
And I guess the way to like I think I would have felt very safe to say like, well, put Ticketus in B, right? There's no way we're gonna group him with Mukla and like Lich King and
And
shit.
I'd be like, leave Ticketus and C. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Like gosh, I'd
Well,
be very defensive. Yeah.
I would put forth my argument, and that's
Yeah,
of
sure.
course very player dependent, and that's
Yeah,
the cool thing. It depends on your playstyle, but my playstyle has actually just evolved so much. Not as well. I mean, I think for the better. I think it's also more entertaining to watch me play now because I used to be an incredibly defensive player, very much, very slow and steady climbing, get the second place, get the third place, lose minimal MMR. And then, when you have the sure thing, you get the hook dusk, all the tokens are in, you get the Jandis, all the tokens are in. Then you go in for the kill, you get your first place, you get your decent jump, and then back to being defensive. Back to being defensive. Just don't get the eighth, don't get the
yeah.
eighth.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
That's
Right. You're just like, let's go.
get the
And
first,
now,
get
like
the first.
for me, if I feel like a hero has a hard time doing cool stuff, right? Getting to 5, getting to 6, and going for tier 6 gaming, getting the win, or at the very least have a good chance of tripling into a 4. Like for instance, Ticketus, you can either get the coins on tier 1 or you can get Gacha Gift. If you get either of those, that helps tremendously with securing your triple. Like especially Gacha Gift is amazing for trying to triple on tier 1. So that has a lot of value for me right now. So when I look at, say, Mukla, Blackthorn, Daryl, Edwin, these are all heroes that do what I used to like, which is here's some value, here's some stats. You're going to be a bit stronger than other people, save your health, build your comp, but you're not going to pop off on tier 6 unless, you have some Blackthorn, power level, great minions, great shops, etc. So for me, I'm almost just by default, so I'm not getting a first, and I'm probably not even getting a second.
Yeah, but just because you played, that doesn't mean those heroes are bad, right? Like that's what you have to look at.
Well, I think if we are talking about top leaderboard climbing,
but not necessarily talking about top.
Well, I think if you're talking at the round, well, okay, that would have been my first thing. I would have clarified at the round table, like, who's this tier list for? Is this for us? And I think based on the vibe I was getting from Victor when he set the whole thing up, like, yeah, I think this is a tier list for us. I think this is more
it is a tier list for us,
yeah, let's just all come together and let's exchange ideas and just make us stronger players. And I think it's a really cool initiative. And you're way stronger with
this tier list would be very stupid if we did actually do like everything would be F, and then you'd have like these like great, like these are playable, to climb around.
Yeah,
don't touch Daryl, don't touch Vic, don't touch Hushcock.
It just hurts me to see like the ticket is next to Nazoth, right? Or
it does not bother me at all. It's funny.
Yeah. All right, whatever. We don't have to make this a mini round table where it's gonna take 2 hours.
Kind of are doing that already.
Well, no, I mean, because I don't think there is that much more left. I think there's Secret Guy, right? Secret Guy in a great lobby.
That's another one I wanted. Yeah. It's funny, hilarious. And like everyone you're talking about, I'm like, Shady would defend this one.
You know me, right?
I actually defended this one up one. Where was it? Where is it now? It's a C or something?
It's in D.
It's
so
D.
If they had it in F.
They were considering F, yeah, and I was like, no, this is wrong. Like, and I would argue, Shady would argue for like C or B, and I was like, but let me make sure that they don't throw this one.
Well, I mean, Tess higher than Secret Guy, Rag higher than Secret Guy.
Yeah,
those two alone is just like Nazoth higher than Secret Guy.
I think
what the fuck are you doing?
A lot of them don't abuse Secret Guy like you do. Where they're having like
I think the main thing is just feeling safe with the ice block, so you can do some really cool shit. I think you can either play defensive on Secret Guy, but you can also play aggressive and say like, I am guaranteed not dying for another 2 turns or so. Like if you've got like damage cap ice block, or you like it's just like the perfect way to pick up some Khadgars and do some cool token shit.
Yeah, there was also some downplay for mech related compositions. I noticed, right, just due to the like mechs at the moment, and also like the grease spot nerf and stuff like that, like the utilizing the mech engine or so for like the splitting image, right? Yeah. It didn't really. There wasn't a lot of talk about how abusive that can be.
Well, no, I do get that, but I think you totally don't have to do that with this guy if you're just going like Algodons, right? So or like a Reborn Max now, you could split that as well with a Hound Master.
I agree. I'm with you. I was definitely with you. Like, this is wrong. Like, like. I felt like I put him in C. Actually, this is funny, right? In my tier list, I feel like I put him.
Oh, right, that's possible. Yeah, it's like you're right. D it is. Bam, in C. There we go.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised that they put him in D. That's what I was talking about. Like, oh, they put him in D. Where I feel like in my tier list that it's in C or something. So that's.
Now there's some other heroes here and there, of course. Like for instance, I am more comfortable playing Syndragosa, but I'm not going to argue like, oh well, Cindy is amazing, right?
I feel you. Talked about it.
I
love it. Like, I think I covered every hero that I know. Like, Shady would talk about this here.
I think the fun thing with Cindy, I got a first place with her, like I think again 2 days ago or so. I played Cindy, I got a first place. I just played tier 1 on her, and then the hero power was flexible to both be strong and then to also be able to like, ooh, I want that minion, but I don't want the others. Right? I'll just freeze this and then I'll get an extra in it. Blah blah blah. But I wouldn't be comfortable saying like, oh, pick Cindergosa, guys. But I would never like have her next to Arana and Rakanishu, right? Or the mech girl. It's just like, what are you doing, right? Why is the mech girl not in F? Yeah. And I think
I thought I put the mech girl in F. I think I put the mech girl in F. It's hilarious that we're looking at this tier list, and my tier list is like, why is this mech girl here too? Like, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the mech girl's in F in mine as well. So yeah.
Like I feel like the Eudora as well. Eudora is in D.
It should be a little bit higher.
Yes, because Eudora, especially if you have a token start, you just you were farm curve, but go ahead.
I almost want to look at my tier list, like because I'm like you're right.
What's going on here?
Every time you're like, yeah, this is weird. Yeah, that's how I feel. But yeah, I do agree with you, Dora. Where like you can high roll, and it's like it's almost like Ysera in that case, where it's like, why is this here?
The thing with Eudora is that you are guaranteed to discover a 4-drop if you want to, and in this meta, given how you can pull Lightspawn, Matron, Doomsayer, potentially a Frank, or even something like a Gold Grubber, I don't think a hero that has a guaranteed 4-drop on 7 gold that it can be bad or awful at the very least. And I think D tier is awful. I think that's the basic premise for me. Something that generates a 4-drop with a 100% accuracy, it's just a chance to pull Lightspawn Matron or something like that. Like, how can that be D tier? And on top of that, you just get the golden minion, right? And then after that, you don't have hero power. Who gives a shit? That's basically half the heroes right now. You pull a light spawn and the hero power is gone. Doesn't matter. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of different. I do have Eudora in D. Yeah. But I have so much. I have 2 Fs. I have an F and an F minus.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. And the mech girl's an F. Yeah, let me see the difference here. They have I have Daryl in B, yeah. Daryl's in B. I'm also there's one more in B. Is it Death Speaker? Yeah, I have Death Speaker in B as well. Versus that. The secret guy's in C, not in D in mine. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, all right, yeah, that might be a little the Death Speaker in B is a bit too high for my taste. I think it was just like that was the start of the meta, right? When like going for Quillborn Mech was the nuts, and the more we just moved away from that, the more I just had to update. Like, yeah, I don't really like Jeeve curve as much anymore, right? I like tier 1 curve so much right now.
I have Zephyrus in C, where this one has it in D. That's another thing.
That I can see, yeah. I mean, I'll take Zephy over Tess, Nazoth, Rag, Cat, Toki, and then probably Edwin Mukla, that speaker as well. So yeah, but that's again my playstyle right now. It's like I really, really hate going for this tempo shit where I can't really get a first place.
Yeah, but generally a lot of them are relatively similar. So I think it's fine. Yeah, there's those couple of things that I think are a little bit weird. But generally, I mean, it's the same tier list, right?
Yeah, same sentiment. And like you said, you're gonna clean it up next time. So
yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, I think that those are the main points for me that I've seen on the tier list. Is there anything that you remember from the discussion or something like, I want to talk a bit about this hero?
Probably. Keep in mind, there was like 3 a.m. For me.
Yeah. No, I mean, anything that comes to mind right now, of course. There was a ton you guys talked about. I'll throw something else out. I know that Sun is like really like anti-scabs when it's like this hero is so toxic, it's awful, like it's the new Diablo. At least if I'm to believe her Twitter feed. So I'm like I guess I'm wondering if anything came through where she just said like, oh, this guy is just like insta like S tier super broken.
I don't think so. A lot
All
of
right.
a lot of people were, very casual until a letter was announced. It's like, oh yeah, this is fine. S tier, no, this,
No, no, God, no.
this isn't S tier. It's like
Oh,
then you you just talk about the heroes, like, yeah, that's fine. You give a letter, then they're like, oh, get me in
in,
here,
in
coach. Like,
in their head, you're agreeing with what the number or what the letter is they already have. It was like, yeah, it's gonna be here. It's like, what? No, no way.
yeah, thought that was funny, but pretty interesting. What was interesting to me? Okay. I was kind of surprised how like casual it was to agree with some of the heroes, like some of the really good and the really bad heroes. Like the Barov Insta S, I was like, that was gonna be a discussion, but it wasn't. I was like, oh,
All
okay.
right.
And like Gallicron, I just put an S. I just like Gallicron S. And everyone's like,
Galloway.
yep, let's move on. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, Galloway, to
Yeah,
be clear. Yeah,
yeah, Galloway. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's also Galacron, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I was like Malagos S is. I was like, I think that might be weird, but I was like, no, S seems okay. Like if you have perfect double token lobby or token elemental, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's easy S. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like very like, oh, no
It's
discussion.
almost
Yeah.
it's almost like you're like, wow, like it's like they play this game a lot as well, and they've also figured these things out. That's so cool. I
Yeah,
don't
it
have
was
to
so weird,
spell
dude.
it out for them. Yeah. No, I think that can be very enjoyable. I think that because I do think if you would speak with a more average cut of the player base, if you'd have to explain why Malagos is an S, because I think a lot of people would be like, "You're crazy. Why is Mally an S?" Like, well, I mean, it's really good at getting triples on tier one, and then you get a 4 drop, and then you can hero power that 4 drop, and you're like can almost force a light spawn. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, huh, okay, like, oh, that's nice, and it was also just like kind of nice to say, okay, yeah, I don't know about this hero, and then they're like, that's fine. We've got 8 other players that are opinionated here. You can be quiet. And I was like, good, okay, because we were kind of talking about if A was too chaotic and blah blah blah, and I liked it personally, but there was something like, that's a lot, everyone didn't get to speak equally, but I like that everyone didn't have to speak equally, right? Because if you have less people, right, then there's like a little bit of pressure on you to be like, oh, I have to participate, I'm one of the 4 or whatever. Where if there's
Well,
8 people, you can just hop it, just like pop
Well,
in every 10 minutes.
I would imagine if you come on to sort of a panel or, like just a discussion that you're ready and willing to engage
Nah,
in that discussion.
nah.
So for me, I would say max 4. Like I would not enjoy having this
I
8 or
loved it.
9
I loved it
pile.
personally. Yeah.
But I think that it's so difficult then to get proper discussion where it feels like I
But
like to go sort of deep and like ask questions and all that, and
right.
I would feel like I'm hogging far too much time. So
Yeah.
I would automatically condense my arguments and my questions to not take up too much time of the 7 other people. But then I feel like when you have that, you don't really get to the essence of things because you're gonna want to be polite and you're going to want to keep it more superficial. So that's just something that I feel, of course. You guys might have enjoyed it and it was probably enjoyable to watch, but I would find it difficult to get my point across in sort of the time allotted. And I know that might be like, well, time allotted, there's no timer, but after a while you will feel, right, like, well, Shady's talking an awful lot, right? And that's enough feeling that you want to avoid. So.
Yeah. I think what if because Victor did like start. I think he wanted to create like he wanted it to be like somewhat casual discussions. Like didn't want it to be like exactly what you're talking about, where it's like here is my argument. Let's place it. I need someone to defend this, or I'm right. Let's go. I don't think he kind of wanted to like go just just a casual conversation between high level players and like all these different topics per se, right? So, I do think with smaller groups you get closer to what you're looking for, where you can take your time, say your points, and have someone defend it or agree with it, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they were talking about having smaller groups and then also like a bigger group, right? So you have like a smaller group to like this, like to fully flesh out these kind of like arguments.
Sure.
Things
For the real deep discussions, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. But I also like just having the big groups because it like the one thing for me, like it's hard to talk to all these players. Like there are some players I'm talking to for the first time. And that's amazing to me. Like, oh yeah, hey, it's nice to meet you, right? But if you only have 4 people, like how long is it gonna take before I actually get to talk to everyone?
So
like,
it's more you're just going to a bar.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So yeah, sure. And I think that's perfectly fine. And I could enjoy a conversation like that. But then indeed, if you're in a group, with 7 other people in a bar, you're also not going to go too deep on some conversation. Right? If you're hanging out with just one friend at a bar, like sure, you might get in some deep
life.
Yeah, especially as the beers progress throughout the night.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of life stuff coming up. No, but yeah, sure. No, I can see that. And in that spirit, it could be fun to participate in a larger group, and then just say, okay, I'll keep the more getting to the bottom of stuff to really figure out and improve my gameplay. I'll keep that for under the smaller group.
Yeah, it's not this discussion itself was like over 4 hours long, right? And we didn't even get to like the meat. We had like so many more slides. I had so many slides, that in there. Like I had a ton of slides.
It's like all these slides go in the waste. It's like,
I literally spent like 3 to 4 hours making these slides. And then like after the tournament, I was like, oh, I have a thing in like 6 hours. Okay, let me work on the slides. Let me talk to Victor about these. I spent so much, like it's stupid, and they're like, okay,
I'm gonna make them use the slides this week. Yeah.
Well, I don't care anymore. I've done my job. The slides are done. But as we were getting into it, I realized there's no way we're going to order it. Like it's already going to be so long or too long, and then ordering it is an extra hour minimum, right? It's just not doable. So we're thinking some other time, maybe next week or this week or something, we'll order the slides or so. So right now it's just in the
ranking
tiers.
The arrows within the tiers. You mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that some heroes will also move.
Well, one of the fun things to me it's what you mentioned is like, oh, I don't have to talk about Mali. It's like, oh, I don't have to talk about Bran. It's just like, yes, thank you. Like Bran, top tier, both tokens in, super amazing.
Yeah.
It's just
not really a discussion.
Because I love playing it because I caught a bit of it live, and at some point I saw Shutterwalk not in S, or at least the talk about not putting him in S, and I was just like, yeah, that seems wrong. That seems very
wrong. It's like it's too easy, right? Like if you get like I was watching what was like Derek or something play Shutterwalk with the group, and they just like stayed on 1, got like 4 triples, and then leveled to 5 and got 4 6s, and then they just win. I was like, that's so easy. It's like, it's not fair. What is this? Just stay on 1, get as many tokens as possible, and it gets 4 6s. Like, I thought they were going for 4s. Like, oh, let's get light spawn spent. They're like, nah, skip 4. Let's just go to 6 and then.
Well, I mean, I guess you look at your health when
they were able to do it, for sure. But they were discussing either 5 or 6. There was like no discussion on 4. I was like, oh, at least talk about it. Yeah,
but and who was this?
Derek. It's a commentator,
Okay.
Yeah.
And the did they like buy acolytes and stuff?
No. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. They weren't playing to play on 1. That's true. That's a good point. They were not playing to take advantage of a light spawn. Like, let's say they got a light spawn, it would be a little bit weird because they wouldn't have an acolyte
Right.
or M. Yeah, so that is a good point. You do throw up. They weren't really thinking to play for fours. They were probably just forcing fives or six regardless.
Right. Because
So that does make
that's
sense.
why
That
I
does
think
make sense.
Shutter is so damn consistent for me. Is I mean, give me any hero that can pull 1 or 2 4 drops on 7 gold. It's like, yeah, I mean, if elementals,
Yeah.
demons, or maybe even Frank, right? If those are all in, then yeah, on average, that hero is going to do well in this meta. It's going to do really well in this meta.
Yeah.
And that's almost your worst case scenario. Obviously, your worst case scenario is you did not hit a single token all the way from 3 gold to 7 gold.
Yeah.
The chance of that
It's not
happening is
realistic.
very low, right? But that is your absolute worst case scenario. But most of the uh common worst case scenarios is I couldn't rush for sixes with my tokens, but maybe you can, right? Maybe you just have to roll a bit longer and then wait. But I can still very comfortably pull 2 4 drops or so,
Right. Yeah.
because I stayed on one and I rolled for the cat and the murloc.
Yeah.
And that alone, I think, makes it, because in a lot of the games you do get to just rush for sixes, and it's stupid
It's
good.
still dumb. Yeah.
And then your quote unquote bad games is where you get 2 shots on light spawn, right? It's just like, if your bad games are 2 shots for light spawn, that's okay, buddy. Awful hero, right?
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, some of the stuff for like not S were like, but I think S is like is interesting discussion in itself. Like what constitutes an S tier hero? Like you're always happy to take it. It's always good or blah blah blah, right? Because I don't think always good, but like in perfect lobbies, these like dominate, right? Like I think a lot of them are saying like I'd expect to win, like
that
like,
would be. Well, I mean, you got to be careful, of course, for your own mental state,
right. I
right?
know, yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
but yes, I think for the value of the discussion, I would agree. You would expect a first place. You would play like you would get a first place. You're not always going to get it, of course, right? And you want to adapt to the situation, but you get a Jandis with both tokens in, you're going
to do well. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. So yeah, a lot of interesting discussion there. Have we went long? I have no idea how long.
Long-ish, not
Long-ish.
too long. Like it's now, like, I don't know, over an hour or whatever.
Okay. Anything else? Were there any other events going on this week?
Well, we haven't really talked about the meta too much, but I think that's fine.
Who cares about the meta? The meta is the same, blah blah blah. Avenge, Lightspawn are good. Get the heroes that win.
The one thing I would maybe just like bring up, just to have a little bit of card discussion. We talked about how Lightspawn, right? I think it's too strong, and it's just like this can't go wrong kind of scaling, and it's really good. Right. I think another thing for late game that I think is toxic is just Reborn Maxna. Yeah, it's just it was silly. Like earlier today, I was playing a Gallywix game where I got up to 200 or plus 200 on my Nomi, my Nomi elementals, and I was still holding a max in my hand in case I roll a snake.
Yeah,
and I think there should be a point where you just say like, come on, man, like how good does your board need to be to not consider this anymore? And the answer is like,
never.
As long as it's a stat war, 2 instances of poison are going to be better than a fucking 200 party elemental in the end game, which is ridiculous. So I think that because if you think about it, Amalgadon is a similar card, but requires far more setup, where you got to have the brand, you got to have the tribes on the board, and then you need to roll Poison Divine Shield. Yeah, go ahead.
So what would you do? Would you change it to like Poison is like 100 attack or something like that?
No, I would just make it so that you couldn't play the Reborn on the max now. So whatever rule change that is needed for that. Now that's again a nuanced solution. So I don't have a typical Hearthstone solution where we say, oh, turn the 1 into a 2 or something like that. I think Poison dealing unlimited damage is fine. I think you do need that. But so this is where the card becomes too much for me, where it's okay that a Spore kills a 200 health Molten Rock, because you can ghoul the Spore, you can selfless your stuff, you can have the overkill elemental. But once we have the baseline is I kill 2 of your big guys with my Reborn Maxna, I think that's too much, because now the first instance is the person that can buy the poison is afforded an opportunity to catch up with the stat player. But once the Reborn hits the Maxna, the stat player needs to catch up in the arms race for poison. And I think like if you've been winning the whole game, but your opponent has 2 Reborn Maxnas, you have to catch up. You either need to get more Reborn Maxnas, or you need Selfless Baron, or you need something, right? You need something to cheese him back, because you cannot get there with stats. And if they have like Ghoul with 2 Reborn Maxnas, all your shields are gone. So like your perfect dongs are useless. And it's just crazy. And then you can introduce Khadgar to get even cheesier. And now you have like 6 Maxnas. And it's just like, it's so abusable. And it feels like the late game, it's almost always that. If beasts are in, I will play my comp plus Reborn Maxna. Unless my opponent is playing a very, very specific comp, or I am playing something like, let's say I'm going up against beasts, and I know there's just a lot of rat packs and stuff. Yeah, Reborn Max not so great there, but also very specific. Or if I'm playing, say, Omega Buster, I don't really have room to fit Reborn Max not most of the time, because I'm going to have Baron, I'm going to have Parrot, I'm going to have Buster, and then I need to fit some X. But in almost any other case, you're going to want to add 2 Reborn Maxnas. And I think it's too easy, it's too much, and it's too unfun. Because that's the point I outlined earlier. I don't think that the player that was winning the whole game now needs to think about, how do I catch up to my opponent having a Reborn Max now? Because I'm currently losing.
Well, the weird thing is that everyone is used to it, right? Like that's the annoying part, right? So a lot of people are thinking about that in their comps, right? You see people just buying the Reborn card with no synergy, and just if I hit my X, that's good, right? And that kind of thing, right? So everyone's aware of it, and it kind of gives the same lines of like Murloc, Divine Shield Murlocs, right? Back in the day with Megasaur, it's just like, what am I doing here? But it's a little bit, it's less toxic than that, that's for sure. But it still has that like element of like, I was winning the game, and then my opponent high rolled, and now he has like 2 more extra reborns, and now I lose, right? Like that kind of thing. Or, here we go, I have to switch my whole comp because my opponent is running like scam comp, Baron, Selfless, Reborn Max. And so I'm just like, how do I deal with this? Unless I'm running like Max or some random beast that's like things that summon a bunch of random like high cost minions, like it just doesn't work, right? So, I don't know, right, like what the changes are, like that are clean and concise to fix the issue, right? You kind of have to either introduce some new mechanics that make that problem less apparent, or you just...
There was one thing that was suggested in my chat, was actually quite elegant, which is give them an extra battle cry, gain poison. That way, if it reborns, it won't have poison.
So you just nerf my Exna, essentially.
Well, not really, because my Exna would be the same card she was before. Battle cry
without the reborn element.
But if you reborn her, because I think it's silly. I think reborn Maxna shouldn't really be a thing. I think that was
buffing Shutterwalk, though. Just
buffing Shutterwalk, yeah. So if you have Shutterlings by the time you've played Maxna, the little 1/1 can get poisoned. But I mean, they already do that one. They already do that with a mount.
I know they do. I know it's not. I'm kind of trolling. That is interesting.
Yeah. And that would be a quite elegant. But the thing is, I don't even think that it's perceived as a problem. Like you said, everyone's used to it. But the more I start really thinking about
I don't even know if Lightspawn is perceived as a problem right now. Which is like, like what? No, so I'm just like, I don't know right
I think
now.
So. I think among high-level players at the very least.
Yes. High-level players know that minion damage should be 1, so it's like, I don't know, like it just
damn, dude, let's never give up on that. Let's never give up on that. Okay,
so I'm not particularly confident.
Let's clarify for podcast token damage. I know you guys know, right? But like token damage should be 1. Like I think minion dealing of tavern appropriate damage is fine, right?
Fine,
but the you don't want to take more damage by killing a gas coiler than if the gas coiler was going to go phase. That's just silly.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's a cool thing. I guess that's fair because it also like yeah, I guess it's surprisingly elegant because like
Yeah,
some of the
it
other
doesn't
stuff we're
hurt the
talking about,
interaction.
yeah, some of the other stuff we're talking about where it's like, oh, you can't target higher tiers than the minion with the 5/3. It's like, it's kind of weird. So, but I'm okay with it. It would definitely
Yeah,
change the game though. Like, what I mean, like you wouldn't have that my ex no abuse. Sometimes
yeah,
that's
like
the only reason I win.
building stats on your minions is actually a bit more important now. Yeah, cool, right? I just find that so often when I'm heads up in the 1v1, I just be like, nothing I buy now matters other than Selfless
Poison. Yeah,
Baron Max
yeah,
Reborn.
yeah, yeah.
Because you just look at their board and it's like, oh, they already have Reborn Max now, they have Poison Dongs, but they like have no health on their minions. It doesn't really matter, so I don't need to increase the attack on my minions. I just need to try to counter cheese them, right? I either need a big cleave, or I need the Golden Selfless, or I need my own Reborn Max now. So
Yeah, the
I
counter cheese. Yeah, that's so
yeah,
common.
gotta get in with the counter cheese. Uh, I mean, I just thought I threw it in some food for thought for the listeners as well. Like, see if you mind the Reborn Max interaction. Of course, we just play, or at least I right now play
Oh, that's a good question.
stupid amounts. Right?
Normally, I don't look at chat, but this is a special, so chat is perfectly
Sure,
fine
sure.
to ask questions. Do y'all think there'll be BG Sports next year? That's a good question, right? So there's a reveal, right, happening. That's probably gonna happen during Worlds, and Worlds is it 15th, 16th, or 16th to 18th, or something like,
Ooh, that's a
or
good
no, it's
question.
like 18th to
Yeah.
19th or something. Worlds is really soon, and they're
Mhm.
gonna have there are gonna be a lot of like announcements during Worlds, right? So there's a good chance we know the answer by next week. Like this question that you're asking, there's a very good chance that we know the answer to this next week. So that's going to be really interesting. And I would love to see BG Sports personally, like I'm pretty sure BG has like made a name for itself as like, yeah, this is a good game mode. People are interested. This is fun. A lot of people would love to play and participate. So it would be weird, in my opinion. I'm fully biased here, but it would definitely be weird for me to hear, oh, there's nothing going on in the BG ecosystem. We just don't care. Like it's just like, what's going on with the design team here? Like that would be my response. But I do think it would be cool, and I do think it'd be interesting. So I would love to just see what the announcements are during Worlds, and next week we'll probably talk about it with more information and more knowledge. So
I mean, and I would be pleasantly surprised, of course.
I would also
I
be surprised. I'm hoping for not. I mean, I'm assuming nothing and hoping for something. That's my
yeah,
line.
yeah.
Yeah,
For sure. And just playing more and more tournaments, you just realize how there is such a
different game.
uh, hunger, right, for more competitive opportunities. Like anytime, we play in rivals, or you had the invitational, or just even like the smaller community-based tournaments, the one that Nicolina hosted, it's just super fun for the like my viewer numbers, right, were really good, like people, and even though there's little to no chat interaction, it's just like, all right, people know we've been practicing for this, we just play, and it's just cool, right? People appreciate that. They want to see the people that play this game all day, like what would happen if we put them against each other. And that's what you do in almost any discipline, right? Like you want to see like two really good basketball teams face off and be like, all right, who's going to win this? And that's no different with BGs, right? People want to just put good players against each other and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, another thing about tournaments is that it definitely drives passion. Like I especially like particularly remember practicing for the invitational, right? Like that's the most like I've been like, oh, let's dive deep. Let me really care. Let me grind it out. Like in
Yeah.
like recent years, like
Let me
I
actually
might.
look at the numbers, right? And
Yeah,
see
let me
like,
let me play while I'm not streaming, that kind of thing. Like that reminds me when I first started playing and stuff like that, where I was like, just playing day out, day out, trying to be the best, trying to get as good as possible, right? Like that tournament brought that back in me where I was like, okay, let me just, grind. And I could see my improvement. I could see there was a lot of stuff that, like, during that time I learned, like, there's still things I need to work on. That was essentially, when I was like, I'm not 100%, that's still like, hey, but it's good to know that. It's good to realize, here's the things I can improve on, you might be like casually at like 70 or 80 or even 90. 90 is kind of hard in my opinion, but you might be like casually 70 when you're not trying, right? But then with a bit of practice, you can go up to 80, 85, right? That kind of stuff. It's really cool to know that it's there, and it's really nice to like pursue that when there's a goal, right? Like when I'm just streaming and whatnot and there's no goal, no tournament, I'm like, I don't really care. Like, the leaderboards, there's no prize reward, there's no like, the notoriety factors kind of died off. Like I feel like if you're a new streamer and you're trying to like be the number one, it's hard. Like I see a lot of streamers that are like, number two or whatever. And it's like, that time's passed. Like, no offense, but so it's hard to be like, let's just push. Like if you're already known you're pushing, that's effective. But if you're just a new player, it's like kind of hard because everyone already knows who's good.
I think like there's still some value in it
if you're number one. If you're number one, yes. If you're not number one, and that's such a hard ask, like, yeah. So it's like,
because it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, how can I tell you that's the goal? So it's rough, right? So but I'm saying like there's not a lot of like drive to like push for leaderboard for me at least or anything like that. So it's just kind of a weird thing.
For a lot of streamers, it might also be detrimental almost to their content, where they're because there is going to be less chat interaction. You might want to stream shorter times and take a bit of a break and be like, okay, let my brain rest for an hour or two, then play some more. But then that's either off stream or I'm streaming a second segment. Yeah. Like if you're truly working as a competitor, that a portion of that can be on stream, but then another portion, like you might not even want to say like, hey, there's this cool thing I do on this hero and I kind of don't want other people to know. Right? If you're really truly playing in a league or something. So first and foremost, like I'm a streamer, you're a streamer, so we're also really good.
I don't know if that's first and foremost for me, to be fair.
Sure.
I am a dude first and foremost, and then I'm a somewhat of a competitor, I'd say. Then I'm like a streamer, then like I'm an interpreter.
Right. Like Grandmaster BGs comes out, calls me like, all right, guys, it's been swell, but I gotta go practice.
Look, I have been number one, right? When I was like trying to keep number one, right? All of the things you talked about are very true. I couldn't play long. I'd have to rest, and there were some tricks I couldn't really do. Like at least I played like half on stream, half off stream, and the off stream games were like night and day difference. Also, I was getting sniped as well. That was like a little and it's so annoying too. Right, where it's like, oh, there's no snipers if you're streaming offline. It's like so much easier. So like
that is true. Like true 1v1 end games are oftentimes you just see your opponent do something, or you have
no sense.
Thought. Yeah, you have this thought where you're like, this will be really good. But if they know what I'm doing, it's completely off.
Yeah, so I can't do it. Yeah, I know.
So I can't do it. Yeah. And that sucks. That sucks. Because you're just like, the chance is too high. The chance that they're looking at my board is too high. Like, it's a thing that's like ghoul or something, right? Like, oh, I'm going to move my ghoul second. And then you see their selfless like in position 3. And you're like, yeah buddy. Good. Cool. Right. Of course the selfless is third. What am I thinking? And just things like that where you're just like, all right. So yeah, off stream, you never have to worry. And then you can at least see them do a play like that. And you're like, oh, wow, what a 5-hit. Right? They're like,
those plays don't happen. Ghoul. I'll just tell you.
Yeah, the ghoul would never throw.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. Like if you're not streaming. So it's like, there's obviously something going on here. So yeah, it's just, it's night and day. Like anytime I'm up there and pushing, like you definitely notice. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you do want to push for that, it's a different mentality than just casually streaming and whatnot. So
that's true for sure.
I would love to, have, tournaments. That's the point, right? Like, it let you have the drive back and all that good stuff. So yeah, they're definitely cool. So we'll have to see if the announcements to the Worlds are worth the wait. Gotta see. That's all I
got. All right, I think that seems like a good point to wrap it up for today.
Yes, thank you guys for dealing with my special. I did not realize it was Thursday. That's my excuse. And you know what? Making the slides is so much work. I just
look at this beautiful graph. That's all the slides we need, right?
So I love I'd love to just like have Shady do one. Shady just do all the work this week. I'm like, I just wake up and like go. Get some scuff graphics. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us here. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see if I put the other roundtable VOD on the YouTube or something, as well as this one. This one for sure, but the next one as well. We'll see how that goes. So that should be fun. But generally, thank you for having me, and thank you, Shady, for being here, reminding me that we were going to do this because I forgot. So that's always nice.
Always a pleasure, Collins.
Always a pleasure as well. You can find us wherever we exist, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a good one.